Hey everybody out there, it's Pastor John, and I wanted to share a little bit with you about some of the things our leadership team has been praying and thinking and talking about as far as some of the next steps for our church, and in particular, how we structure ourselves, how we organize ourselves, and how we encourage everyone to be participants in the life of the church. But I want to start off with an image from the Bible, and most of you are probably familiar with the story of David and Goliath. Raise your hand if you know the David and Goliath story. Good. But there's one particular detail that I was thinking about this week from that story, and that's when David is about to decide he's going to go fight Goliath. King Saul gives him the armor of another soldier, and David puts on the armor, and he kind of moves around a little bit, and he says, this just isn't going to work. It's too big. It's not going to allow me to do what I need to do, to move. And so he takes it off and he goes out with just his sling and his and stones. And it seems like a minor detail, but I think it's relevant because the armor in itself was not bad. For another soldier, a bigger soldier, for another kind of battle, it was good. But in that moment, in that situation, it was restrictive to David. It was keeping him from really being able to move and do everything he felt called to do. And it had me thinking a little bit about our board structure that we had for really about 50 years almost. The board structure was implemented in the 1960s, and it was good. It served the church well for a lot of years. But what we were finding over the last few years was that it just wasn't working. People were having trouble getting people to be on boards and want to be on boards. People who were on boards were getting tired and burnt out, and it just wasn't seeming like it was serving us anymore. It was a bit restrictive. We were doing a lot of work trying to get the structure held up. And so we kind of took apart the board structure, and we have survived over the last couple of years with just a leadership team and a board of trustees. But at the same time, in that couple of years where we've been kind of going bare bones on it, we've heard a number of folks in the church say, I just don't know where I fit. Where do I fit? What's my place in the church? Do I have a place in the church? And I think that comes from just for a lot of years, the boards were how you served the church, and how you served God, how we served God here in many ways. And so I think some people were kind of just lost, like where do we fit? What's going on? What's the future for me? And a couple of years ago, we started this natural church development process. And through that process, our biggest need as a church was empowering leadership. And then our two second lowest ones tied were gift-based ministry and effective structures. And we've really been kind of pouring into empowering leadership, at least on the leadership team level, and in a couple other areas. The Be the Gift project was about empowering folks to lead and do ministry. And with the Created and Called series, we were kind of looking at what is your gift, what is your calling, those type of things. But even at the beginning, we realized that what we needed to do from this natural church development process was to create structures that empower leaders in their areas of gifting, to use their gifts and lead out of them. And so this is what we're proposing and introducing to you is kind of what we've taken from some of the best of that work that we've done, I hope. And the goal of this is to really help this to become more and more your church, our church. A church where the gospel is brought to life in the stories and the passions and the gifts and even the personality of the people of the church. This isn't Pastor John's church. It's not the leadership team's church. It's not the trustees' church. It is the community's church. And so our goal for all of this was not to think of structuring the church in the sense of a building. Right? A building structure is built to contain things. Instead, we were trying to think of the structure of the church like the structure of a body or a skeleton. And a skeleton is different in the sense that it doesn't contain things. It empowers movement. It enables a person to move and be flexible and adapt. And so that's kind of how we wanted to think about a structure that would really help people to live out their gifting and lead in that area. And so here's what we have. We have our 3G teams. Okay, so this structure really comes right organically out of our vision. We have 3G teams. We have a Glorify, Grow, and Glow team. And we have what we're calling a Together team. The Glorify team is really focused on bringing a worship theme to life and helping to make our worship vibrant and inspiring and formative. The Grow team is really aimed at discipleship. How are we being formed and educated and learning and growing? The Glow team is about helping our church move outward in mission and giving people opportunities and training to go out and shine the light of Christ and be the light of Christ in our neighborhoods. And the Together team is about tending to the sense of connection and care we have for one another as a community. So there's those teams. And some key features of those teams that we want you to be aware of is for each of those teams, especially the 3G teams, there are going to be 3 spots on those teams that are a year-long commitment. So we want to have at least 3 people on each team who are able to commit for a year and say, yes, I feel called to use my gifts and my passion is for worship, to be on the Glorify team for a year. And we want that continuity, we want that leadership and so on. But also on all of these teams, there's any number of open spots for seasonal commitments. And so if you're like, I don't really know what I want to do, you can try out a team for a season. You say, for the Advent season, I think I want to try out the Glorify team and work with, worship and bringing the worship theme to life, that kind of thing. And so we want you to be able to experiment and move and try different things until you find what really is your calling. And then for each team, there's a member of the leadership team who is a point person, who is a point of contact and a resource for you. They're not going to be doing everything for the team. They're going to be kind of helping vision and ministry come together as far as the church goes. For each of these teams, another difference that's important is that there's no task list. There's no list of things where we say, okay, whoever's on the team, you have to do this, 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 and this. There are suggestions, and you'll get a booklet, or you can have a booklet that has some bullet points of, if you're on the Glorify team, here's a direction you might think about going. But it's not saying this is what you need to do on this team. We really think it's important that each team determines its own direction, its own workload. Okay? So we want this to come right out of your gifts. We want the ministry, we want your work to come out of your gifts and your passions. We want you to be collaborating with one another. And if there's 4 people on a team, we want you to do what 4 people can do. Okay? So we're not giving you a list that's meant for 10 people and then saying, okay, if you have 4 people, you still got to figure it out. No. We want, if you have 4 people on the team, try and do what 4 people can do. Or if you need more people, if you have a big vision for something that's really you're passionate about, then bring other people in, collaborate, find other people with the gifts and the passions that will work for that. But we want these teams to really, again, flow out of your gifts, your passion, what you can do as God's gifted people. And then, rather than monthly meetings, what we're envisioning is seasonal seminars. And so let's just take Advent, for instance. We'll have a seminar in October, say, and you have all of the teams there. And in that time, we'll talk about what is our theme going to be for Advent. Here's our theme. Here's where we're going with it, which will have been formed with input and feedback from the teams. It will be formed by the leadership team. So here's our Advent theme, and then each of the teams will break up and start brainstorming for how they want to bring that theme to life, or what sort of mission work or what have you they think will be good in that season. And then after that, it's really up to the team. Whatever works for you guys. After our seasonal seminar, it's up to you guys. Do you want to email each other? Do you want to do video calls, face-to-face meetings, check-ins, 10-minute check-in after worship? Whatever works for you. It's your team. It's your ministry. We want to collaborate. The leaders want to collaborate. We want to be here for you for whatever you need. But we want it to be a work and a ministry of the people, of you, and what works for you. Now, one other thing about that is we also want there's going to be a training packet for each team. So if you want to be on a team, we want you to become familiar. It'll have a number of questions, some quotes. It'll have maybe a chapter of a book to read. It might have a podcast to listen to or a YouTube video to watch. But it's really just to get you thinking about, if you're on the Glorify team, what is worship all about? What is our goal on this team? What are we going for? If we're on the Glow team, what are different types of mission, justice and service and things like that. So we want to just kind of stimulate your thinking about whichever team you're going to be on, so that the team can be on the same page and can be doing the best work you can do. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be trying to contact every Covenant member just to see if you have any questions or any thoughts, and maybe to see what you're thinking about. Maybe I really want to be on the Glorify team. That seems to be really my passion, is worship. Great. So we want to have that conversation with you. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to call the church or any member of the leadership team. And we hope this is inspiring to you. We hope this gives you an avenue to get involved and to use your gifts and to own the ministry of the church as God wants us to, all as the community. So I hope this was helpful for you. We'll see what God has to do with us. May God bless you as we live the gospel life together, as we glorify, grow, and glow. See you later.